Hi, and welcome to the Power of a Plan webinar. My name is Jenny Graham and I'm a spending planner. I'm really glad that you could come along and join me tonight. And I just wanted to introduce myself a little bit to start with. I am a mother of 5 and I'm married to my husband Paul. We've been married 20 years this year. So I was born in northeast Tasmania, a little town called Wynyard, and spent a lot of time in my childhood doing guides and scouts, and I really enjoyed the outdoors. Down in Tassie, camping, bushwalking, sailing, all that sort of stuff was a lot of fun, and I was fortunate enough to do a little bit of overseas travel during that time. I went overseas with my family, with my mum and brothers, to go and connect with her family over there in the UK. And later on, in about grade 9, I was selected to represent Australia, to go over to Russia to represent the Australian Scouting movement and help them to reintroduce Scouting in Russia. So that was for a month, which was quite a eye-opening trip for me. I really enjoy overseas travel, and yeah, fortunately, one of my oldest daughter was able to go overseas last year, so I was a bit jealous that she got to do that. But it's a great thing if you can do it. So the power of the hello. I think somebody's just joined me. It's exciting. Hello. Okay, I'll keep going. So on graduating, I followed my creative talents into graphic design. 4 years later, I finished my apprenticeship in the print industry, and Paul and I got married, and together we moved to the Sunshine Coast. So as employees, we had the time of our lives discovering this region, and we bought a unit and started our family. And it was about 8 years later, it was 8 years later we started our family. And at the same time, Paul actually started his own business and went into business with his best mate. And so this was an extremely busy period of our lives. And we were achieving success, but it wasn't quite what we'd envisaged, in our childhood, what we thought life would be like for us. So in a way, I've sort of spent a lot of time looking for answers to the money question, and a lot of the experience I've been through has really helped me get a lot of insight into that area, and that's what I'd hope to share with my clients now as part of my spending planner business. So moving on, we took an opportunity to travel around Australia with our daughters in a bus and reconnect as a family, which we did for nearly 2.5 years before we landed back here on the Sunshine Coast in Easter this year. So we have spent the last 6 months establishing our home here, and this time with our 5 daughters. So they are very much my inspiration as to gaining the best knowledge I can about money, and so that I can teach them some good habits which will put them in good stead for their financial futures. For me, money isn't everything, but it goes a long way to creating choices, which is, to me, what freedom is all about. Okay, that's enough about me. I would just like to talk a bit about topic today, which is the power of the plan. So we've got a lot to get through, and I'll get started. So essentially, I was able to save $7,860 on our family's currently lean budget. Like I said, we've been travelling in a bus for 2 years, so we're used to not having a lot of expenses. Coming back to our house has been quite a challenge in that way. We're paying electricity, rent. They're two big ones that we haven't paid for the last 2 years. And so what I'm going to show you is how I saved $7,860. And on top of that, and as a result of this, I was able to double my spending money. And this was without any extra income coming in. So the result took my family's budget from the forecasted overdraft of around $1,500 in the middle of December to a much healthier surplus of $55 a week. And the other thing I'm going to talk about is the impact of small frequent transactions, and I'd like to clarify the difference between incidentals and bills and how to handle them both effectively, because they can really bring a budget unstuck very quickly. Okay, I'm going to share the software with you now. Hopefully, let's get that happening. Okay. I'm going to put in, here we go, share screen, getting there. Okay. Is it coming? Share screen. Share screen. Sorry, everybody, just enjoying my technology. Screen sharing is paused. Resume share. Okay, we're back. Lovely. All right, so it's just a little bit about the software, and just looking at that, I'm assuming people can see this. I don't really know. In our regular expenses, otherwise known as bills, I'll show you the actual plan. It will tell us surplus or shortfall for the period at the moment is $50.27 a week. So that's really handy, as opposed to what it was before. If I just modify those transactions back to what we had before. So we had childcare, take the end date off, and we had, who can guess what the other payment was that made up nearly $3,000 a year? I think I've deleted it all together. Yeah, okay, so it was private health insurance. I ummed and ahed for about 3 years over whether to keep that or get rid of it, and over those 3 years I haven't made any claims, and I've decided now, in my wisdom, I rang them to put it on hold, and they've been able to put it on hold for 2 months. I'm just re-entering that transaction now. So it was $55 a week. It was insurance. So fortunately, they were able to offer me a hold of 2 months with no payments, which I was grateful for. So because I didn't want to lose the benefits that we had built up, that was why I was holding on to it. But then I wasn't using it either because I didn't have the cash flow to make use of it. So that shows us That'll show us a pretty different story now. You can see that the expenses have now dropped down to a $3,742 loss, shortfall, should say, for the year. And scrolling down to my bills account, we have a look at that plan now. You'll see we're actually spending $97.34 a week more than we should. And there's a very unpretty picture painted there for our financial future. What I love about this software is that it really lets you forecast the next 12 months and what's happening based on your current transactions. So it's very simple to use and very powerful. So it's the name of the webinar tonight, The Power of a Plan. You can log in when you're a client of a spending planner. You can log into the software and you can look at enter your transactions, and you can very quickly generate this sort of forecast for your future and know exactly where you are. If you're stressed about money, then you'll know why, and that empowers you then to take action, what you can do to change that situation. Or you might find out that you're actually doing really well. You can pat yourself on the back, and you can then work out some targets for your surpluses and really get the best benefit out of that as well. So this program really does help everyone on all spectrum of the financial journey. Like people with families can find it very useful because they can predict what's going to happen maybe when one of the couple decides to stop working, maybe if they're going to start a family or they want to start their own home-based business, then you can really analyse how that's going to affect your finances moving forward. You might like to use it if you're planning an adventure and you're heading off overseas or around Australia, or you're going to become a remote worker. You might want to look at how that's going to affect your budget and what sort of expenses you're going to incur, what sort of income you're going to need to cover your living expenses. So it comes back to how this can then give you confidence to make changes when you need to, because you can actually see how it's going to pan out for you over the next 12 months, which is like looking into a looking glass, really, which is what you want. Okay, so we've covered how I saved that much money. I think the other thing I did was increase my spending money. So what I actually had happening there, previously Paul and I both had $40 spending money, and I had $40 for incidentals each week. So what I created there was we're both getting $100 a week now, based on that saving that we were able to make with the health insurance and the finishing the childcare. That was the other transaction which I've changed. So that way, yeah, my spending money went from 40 to 80, and we've both got $20 each for incidentals, because there's always little things that come up each week that you need to get. Like today, I bought some weed killer for the lawn, because it's more weeds than lawn at the moment. So there's that sort of thing that you can't predict in a budget, and that's the sort of thing that brings people unstuck, because there's always these little items that you can't really plan for. But by allowing an incidentals expense, you've got the money there to cover it when it happens. And the way we handle that in the Spending Planner software is we don't put that into our bills, the amount of money that you're having putting aside for your bills, because that can then give a false reading on the amount of money that you need in your bills account from day to day. So by taking incidentals out of the bills and just using your bills for what they are, which I was going to explain, which is your recurring regular transactions, so they're generally of a fixed nature, then that's really going to allow you to keep like a tight ship, I guess you'd say, with your bills, and just have that money in a separate account, and you're putting money into that each week, so you can count on when your bill's due, that money's going to be there. So that's how that works. And then by having your incidentals as your weekly allowance, then that means you've got that money there on a weekly basis, and you know if you don't spend it one week, then you've got it there already for the next week. So that's a much better way of treating your incidentals, and it's not going to throw your bills unstuck, which is a great thing. What else was I going to talk about? I guess the other part of the power of the plan is looking at if you've got living expenses that are carried over from the past, like possibly you had before you had a family, maybe you had more income, and so that's when you took out things like health insurance. Obviously you wouldn't have taken out childcare, but there would be other things that you were doing then that you probably don't do so much now. Maybe you had a gym membership that you currently aren't being able to utilise. So just by looking at all your transactions when you create your spending plan, it's a great opportunity to have a little bit of a tidy up and think about what you're using and what you're not using. And if it's not currently serving you and you're not getting benefit from it, then it's probably the best idea to cancel those things. Obviously, I'm not going to tell you what you need to do with your transactions. It's completely up to you, your personal priorities, what's important to you. I'm going to support you through the process, though, and make sure that you are going to be achieving your goals with the money that you do have. So that's another way of another benefit of having a plan is identifying all those things that aren't serving you anymore and finishing them up. A lady a few weeks ago I was working with, she was going through all her bank accounts and she had a few that she wasn't even using anymore, and she obviously hadn't logged into them for a period of time, a few months or more, and she didn't realise that there were some bank charges going on there. Got the details here. So it was $16 a month in an unused overdraft account. So there was $10 for the overdraft facility and $6 for the monthly fee. So $16 a month was coming out of that account, which, she hadn't really been aware of if I hadn't shown her we hadn't been going through this and tying up a few loose ends. So that's another benefit of a plan. The other thing I like to think about is the power of a plan is because the plan is now and moving from what we had then. So I was just talking about the past and how we have things established in a certain way based on a certain income probably, and then if your income changes then we need to update that, either reducing expenses or increasing expenses or increasing savings. So then the other part of that is then planning for the future. So this software allows you to start putting away for longer term items like replacing cars, replacing furniture, saving a house deposit, all those future sort of events. But the things you have to take care of now, you can't just leave it to the future for that to be taken care of. So when I say about the power of the plan, I guess it comes from the book, The Power of Now, because that is the only time that we have any control over. Like, what's in the past is in the past and you can't do anything about that. And what's in the future is in the future. You can only plan for and prepare for what you would like to happen. And that's probably that'd be the third reason why I like the power of the plan, because it really brings you into the present and lets you look at the numbers, and the numbers are where the truth is. Like, if you don't well, a lot of people are avoiding looking at the numbers because that is the truth, but then they create something in their head which isn't accurate. So they might think, oh, I'm such a bad spender and I'm so unorganized, but the reality is they're probably doing quite fine, but they're beating themselves up because they just feel like they're out of control. So just by simply putting some numbers into this software, you can get your forecast for 12 months and you can actually see the truth of what is going to happen in the next 12 months based on your current situation. So, and that's all that's what I'm saying about the power of the plan, and the power of now is that's all you can work with, is what you've got in the present moment. So that's what I like about it. And I don't know that there's too much more I want to cover. Just have a look here. So you can see, I did want to say about the impact of small frequent transactions. So that was the health insurance. It was $50 a week, and you think, yeah, $50 a week, that's not too much. But effectively it was, sorry, $55 a week. It was $2,860 a year. So that's a fair bit of not much when you look at it on an annual basis. And that was just the difference between us having that money for incidentals or not, and dipping into the bills account. So when you're taking money out of your bills account and then you're going to pay a bill and it's not there, that's when the stress happens. So this is what I was able to reprioritise a couple of our expenses, a couple that I'd been holding on to, like I was saying, from the past, that I've thought were important. But what's more important is actually having less stress, because stress is one of those things you don't realise how it's affecting you until it's gone. And so obviously I'm a little bit stressed now about this webinar, but generally I try to be a happy sort of person. And just the weight that went off my shoulders when I worked out, by taking out those two expenses, which I'd been holding on to, thinking that they were important and we would find a way to work it out. It's just made such a relief for me, and I was confident then to go out, and I've picked up 2 new clients since I've done this, just because I've been happier in myself and more confident about what I'm doing. So that's a great benefit to have, apart from the $55 a week. Just the weight off your shoulders is a fantastic result as well. So I'm going to sign off shortly, but if anyone wants any more questions answered, or if they would like to know more about the software and how that works, I'm happy to talk to you. I'll just give you my mobile. It's 0419 448677. My website is www.moneymine.com.au. So moneymine.com.au. Just get in touch, and I love helping people sort out their cash flow and just get that weight lifted off their shoulders. So, yep, feel free to contact me. I look forward to talking to you then. Okay, bye.